All right, what's up, Invest in Denver podcast? It is Ben West here with my guy Ian, here to talk about life, real estate, all the exciting things in Denver. A little bit about me is I moved to Denver 2 years ago. I'm from Ohio, got the Midwestern background. Some of the things I love about being here is the weather. 100% is just makes you way happier than any state that's gray. You can do things outside, which I love. I love to run, love to snowboard. A favorite mountain is Keystone. I love going by myself on a weekday and just zoning out and getting to just enjoy kind of that time. Some of my other favorite things are making cocktails. Favorite drink, go-to drink, if anybody knows, is the Boulevardier, which is just a Negroni with rye whiskey instead of gin. I highly recommend it. A lot of good cocktail bars in Denver I can talk about as well. But yeah, those are kind of some high-hitting stuff. Happy to be here.
Nice, dude. Ben, thanks for being on the Invest in Denver podcast, man. Like, even in that like 2 minutes that you were talking, I have so many questions that I want to ask you.
Got it, got
Even
it.
like with the snowboarding, like by yourself on a weekday. I mean, first of all, I noticed that is a thing. Having to go on a weekday, not going when weekend warriors are going, and I'm realizing that it's almost like going to the movies by yourself. Like, I'm just gonna have a date with myself and just enjoy it, with a movie I want to watch and just zone out. So sounds like
Yes.
Keystone is the place to go for your snowboarding ventures. Is there anything else that you're
Yeah.
thinking of?
I think, well, it depends what pass you have. I like to go alone at least a few times at the beginning of the season to make sure I didn't completely forget how to use my legs and am not gonna just embarrass myself with my friends. But I think, yeah, it's like Zen, you find a little Zen moment. The drive up there, like the hour and a half, is usually not traffic on weekdays. You're kind of just listening to music, a podcast or something. It's super early, coffee in hand. It's just good vibes. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, I think just being by yourself adds a little layer to it. I love going with friends, but I love having a day that is just me, myself, the mountain, and then it's just like, I don't have work to think about. It's nice.
And do you have headphones in when you're going down the run?
Back in the day, I did use headphones when I go down, but it's actually super difficult. The world is so high tech, everyone has like Bluetooth headphones. And if I've never done it because I imagine myself like dropping one of these small buds while like going down and then it's just gone forever. But like back in the day, I'd have, the corded ones and would like have it all through the jacket and could, get it under the helmet and wouldn't worry about it. But nowadays I don't. And it's a little bit different snowboarding out here than in Ohio. I was not as focused probably. Now it's a little bit more treacherous. So I do think I don't usually listen to music. No.
For sure. I'm right there with you. I'm not much of a music listener or headphone haver on my longer runs. I run
Yeah.
myself, and I don't know if I told you, but I signed up for a 50K in April. I don't know if
Whoa.
you're a runner of that caliber, but I'm not
Yeah.
yet. So if you ever want to
Okay.
go on a run, and I feel like right now I'm averaging maybe like 9 or 10 miles per session, trying to
Oh,
up it
nice.
until maybe like that marathon status, and then I'll be ready for that 32-ish miles for that
Yeah.
50K. So
That's
yeah,
awesome,
if you're
dude.
down, man, let's go.
I'd be down. I think I always wanted to do it's like ultra marathon, right? 50K is that first step.
That's
And
right.
I signed up for the Steamboat Marathon and this was this past summer and I was training for it with a friend and it's the second time this happened. I signed up for a marathon during COVID as well and I got to the 18-mile long run and I got a stress fracture in my left foot. And then I was like, okay, it's COVID. They canceled the marathon anyway. All good. And then I signed up for the Steamboat one. And after the 16-mile long run, I like had the same exact pain in my foot and took like
No.
just 4 weeks off. And I felt so bad because my friend still did the full. Shout out to Annika. Still did the full. But I just did the half marathon, then it just like kind of stopped training. So I don't know what's going on with my feet, man. But one of these days, I do think it'd be really cool to do an ultra. So that's sweet you're doing that.
Nice. And these are like standard marathons, right? Where it's on pavement or on concrete, yeah?
Yeah, that one was standard, but there's no spectators. If anybody can do the Steamboat half, it's so cool. It's you run on a road they shut down, but there's nowhere for spectators to be, so it's very just you and the runners. I think there's less than I want to say less than 300 probably.
Hmm.
Um, the only spectators that we had were goats. There was goats they released, like from the farms we passed, and they had little cowbells like on their necks. And I kid you not, like I have videos running with goats next to me at this race.
No way.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then you finish kind of in like the downtown Steamboat area, so it was really interesting compared to
That's
just
cool.
like a lot of spectators with signs the whole time cheering you on.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm
but
so
yeah,
used to that. So I ran like almost a dozen half marathons when I was over in San Diego.
yeah,
And there's just a ton of people. It's just a high density area, right? And
yeah.
it wasn't until I did a half marathon over in Death Valley where
Oh
there was
God.
no one, and
Yeah.
I didn't even have headphones. It was like you were mentioning earlier, like the Zen aspect of it. I
Yeah.
absolutely loved it, man.
Hmm.
But goats, I feel like that's a whole nother level, and I want to get on that level. So that sounds
Yeah.
fun.
That's so funny. So wait, in Death Valley, I know it might be like a 100-mile race that they do there, and it like part of it
They
goes
do.
through Death Valley, and it's like I've heard it's just terrible. Like that's where you just have to
Yeah.
find yourself.
That's masochism at that point.
Yeah.
You just have people that enjoy the pain. The David Goggins of the world are
I was
doing
gonna say
that
the
stuff.
David Goggins. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
man.
it's so it really is a mental battle at that point. I mean, granted, stress factors are huge, right?
Yeah.
But when you're in that mental mode of like, hey, I'm not stopping when I'm tired, I'm stopping when I'm done, right? That's a
Hmm.
Goggins quote as well.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't have too much of a problem, and maybe I did wimp out by doing the half marathon, but
Yeah.
maybe next time I'll do the full on. But the fact that it's
Yeah.
Death Valley makes it sound that much cooler. So,
Yeah. No, it sounds way cooler. Yeah, no, I actually the David Goggins thing. We always joke. I don't know if you've seen the video of him. He's benching and he's talking, and every time he does a rep, he says like, "Who's gonna carry the boats?" And it's it's like I don't. No one knows what he's talking about. So me and my friend, we always say that like when I was training for that, it's like whenever we got tired, it was like, "Who's gonna carry the boats?" It's like I don't even know what it means, but it's really motivational.
yeah. 'Cause, I
Yeah.
mean, carrying the boats, that is not an easy feat.
No, I think it probably has something to do with when he was in service or in the Marines or something. But
For sure.
yeah,
I dig it. No, well, again, thanks for being on here, Ben.
yeah,
We have so much good stuff to talk about here, man. But let's keep it light here at first, as we have been already. I'm during my times of hanging out with you and showings and just have conversations. I didn't actually see in person your dog Lily, but you always mention her.
Yeah.
Not that. Maybe she's a little bit secluded, seclusive. I forgot the word, but
I'd say skittish, rude. Those would probably be the two terms
rude.
I'd use. Yeah.
But I mean, did you have her back when you were in Ohio and you brought her over here?
No, so I got her like I probably had her for a year and a half now. And
Yeah.
I'm her second owner. So my cousin lives in Fort Collins and he's a dog trainer and he knew I kind of was looking to get a dog back. This was like last summer maybe or 2 summers ago and I wasn't super serious about it, but you tell someone once and they're like he loves dogs. So then it was anytime he had a dog that he thought would work for me, it was like I was getting a call. But I got a random FaceTime one time and it was just a video of Lily. Like he was watching her and he was doing like a board and train with her and he's like, "This is your dog." And I was like, I don't know if that's if that's true. But if you see enough pictures, you're like, all right. I had no idea like the undertaking a dog was. But
Yeah.
the what happened is the previous owner turned her over to his dog training facility because she has Parkinson's and Lily was a border collie puppy that was gifted to her and she's I mean obviously just a puppy first of all is a lot and then a border collie
Yeah.
is just like also insane and so she turned her over to them after a board and train and was like this isn't a good fit and so he called me thinking oh well, Ben must have all the time in the world, this will be a great fit. And so I ended up taking her and we didn't realize it at first but she is not the most social dog. I got her when she passed the socialization stage already. The first like 6 months are so important for dogs. And so like for the first 6 months I had her, it was just socializing her, training her, meeting random people. And
Yep.
what I've learned, the reason you haven't met her, is she's very sweet and affectionate to get after you get to know her, right? But the initial greeting can be tough. And so she's not a dog you just like let out and like loves everyone.
Sure.
And I just had to kind of learn that that's her personality and that's not something I can change, which is fine. Like love
Yep.
her how she
Yep.
is. Um,
Yep.
but so she can come anywhere with me. It's just she's not a great wingman. She's not gonna be getting all the love at restaurants. I'm trying to get
Yeah.
her a harness that says "Do not pet" because she could go to
Hmm.
farmers markets and stuff, and she's not gonna attack anybody. But once someone tries to come up to her, she's gonna bark or like go behind me.
Yep.
She just doesn't. She wants to be a ghost. She just wants to be a ghost.
Yep.
So
Yeah, just sort of like a wallflower, just hanging
yeah,
out, observe it
yes,
all. Yeah, I feel that. My dog Archie is a little bit that way too. Very
hmm
loyal, very tight circle of loyalty,
yes.
But any sort of strangers that come in, it's almost like you have to pass the test first, right?
You gotta
Like
pass the
you have
test.
to. Yeah, totally. And
Hmm
if anything, I sort of blame it on the humans rather than him.
Oh, 100%.
Right.
I'm the same way. Like if I could have had her from 8 weeks old, I think she'd be a golden retriever, like in terms of social. So,
For
yeah.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, man. I mean, this is a very dog-centric town, and a lot of people have
Yes.
dogs here, and I always like to hear the dog stories behind it all, especially for Denverites. And I mentioned this
Yeah.
on several of the other episodes where, like, coming from San Diego, where the dog parks are on a scale of square feet. Dog parks here in Denver are like acres. It's
Yeah.
insane to me, and Archie absolutely loves it here. So
Yeah.
it's
I
a
bet.
blast.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's so many dogs here. It's insane. Like I can't
Yeah.
even, which is great. I as someone who loves dogs, it's awesome, but it can be as someone who has a dog who only likes dogs that are smaller than she is or the same size, it's a little
Uh-huh.
stressful. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And
man,
what about
everyone's got 'em.
have you ever taken her camping or anything like that? I know you're an avid
Oh
camper
yeah.
these days, so yeah,
Yes.
she enjoys it. Yeah.
Oh, she loves being like off leash. Like I feel safe when she's hiking with me off leash. She's not gonna run away or anything. So yeah, we go on a bunch of hikes. My job, in the summertime we get off around 2:30 or 3. And so that's usually before the crowds come out on a Friday. So we'd always try to get at least a day hike in on a Friday and then probably one other one on a weekend. But so we've
Mm,
done a lot of hikes together in Golden, just like doing a quick day trip together. And so she loves that. But her favorite thing is we
nice.
like to go car camping. I kind of got lazy this year and we just went car camping instead of like actual backpacking. Um, but she loves to hang out in the back of the truck and sleep after like just running around the campsite for forever. So yeah, for
That's
sure.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of camping, I
hmm
was doing some internet research because anything on the internet is fair game for me to research. But you going on the Appalachian Trail, man, that is not an easy feat. I don't know
Yeah.
how long did you actually complete it? And it sounds
No,
like you went with
no.
your dad. Oh,
I went with my dad. We did like I wouldn't even call it a section hike of it. We did probably 30 something miles of it in Virginia. And it's called
cool.
the Triple Crown, if anyone's heard of it. It's a nice 3 night or 4 night, depending on how many miles you want to do a day, hike. And there's like three different peaks that you kind of see. That's why they call it the Triple Crown. It's like McAfee's Knob, Dragon's Tooth, and there's one other one that I'm blanking on the title of it, but there's kind of these three peaks that you get to, and that's kind of how you complete it. So during COVID, my dad, like, he kind of got me into hiking. He's got quite a look to him when he hikes. He always wears the same hat that's like kind of like a cowboy hat, and then he has a walking stick that was his dad's or his grandpa's. That's like made out of bamboo, and so he's
Mm.
always got those two pieces with him. And so yeah, we decided that we're going to do that during COVID, and we think we did it in 3 days, 3 nights, 4 days, and we averaged, I think it was like 10 to 15 miles each day. Because the first day we got there kind of late and just did a couple miles.
Mm.
But yeah, it was super difficult. Like I was like, oh yeah, I was like 22 at the time, and I was like, yeah, I can hike as far as I want. I'm not worried. And then like a 15-mile day came, and I was like, my 55-year-old dad is going farther than I am. So it is. It was way harder than I expected, but it was
Mm.
so fun. learned that, yeah, I was not as in shape as I thought. And I think it doesn't have to do a lot. It's so much of your mental, like
Mm.
just capacity to keep pushing instead of just your physical. Because it was such a mental battle. But it wasn't, I mean, it's
Yeah.
so small comparatively what people have done on like the Appalachian Trail. I think once you get into that, like 2 weeks in, they call it your trail legs. You have at that point, and so you're just
Uh-huh.
doing like 15 to 20 miles, and your legs just keep moving. So we never got trail legs at that point. Uh,
It's almost like sea legs at that point where you're on a ship for so long. Like I'm
yeah,
just so used to this, and it's on autopilot. So
you just keep walking. Yeah, exactly. So I
yeah,
think my dad does want to do more little section hikes of it um, at some point, but he still lives in Ohio, and he's trying to now do each small individual hike at what's our national park there? It's like the smallest national park of all the national parks, but it's what's it called? Oh man, do you know what I'm talking about? You probably don't know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna Google it really fast.
in
Ohio,
Ohio, yeah, go for it, dude.
yes,
Yeah.
Ohio National Park, Cuyahoga National Park. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yep. Yep.
it's the smallest national park, so he's trying to knock off every trail that they have there at the moment,
Oh,
which is
sweet.
yeah, it's
Nice.
cool. Yeah,
That's
man.
cool. I
But
mean, especially dads. I mean, they got age, and
I
here
got
I am
age.
in my 30s, and I'm like, dude, that is something that I need to prepare for and make sure I have enough Advil for this stuff.
Yeah, he was
It's
popping
crazy.
Advil every night. It was one of those for sure. But I got plans to do the Colorado Trail. Um, I think this next coming July, I was gonna take. Most people can do it in 28 to 40 days, and so I was gonna
Yeah.
take off that month, I think, and try to get at least a good portion of that knocked out with one of my friends who also loves to hike. Um,
Yeah.
I've heard great things about it, but I think that one's 500 miles, so it would definitely be a little bit more daunting.
And at elevation too. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
anything like Appalachian, but I actually
Hmm.
there's another fight team agent, Ryan Donor. He just completed it not too long ago.
Yeah.
He's a changed man.
No way.
He's sick of peanut butter, but
That's what I've heard.
he absolutely loved it.
Okay.
And it's a newfound introspection that he had for him, as well as a new reason to keep hitting that financial independence.
Yeah.
After so many days, I think it was just him for a good portion of it. And he ran into other hikers along the way, so they were sort of traveling together. And it's funny how like people come and go, or like start at different times, and it's almost
Hmm.
like a metaphor for life as well. Like, hey, you're not gonna stay with any one person for a really long time. Of course, if you're married, I mean that's a whole
Yeah.
other thing. But you don't meet them when you're like newborn.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's a transformative experience. I can't attest to that, but I think you'll have a
Hmm.
good time, especially with your experience too. So really
Yeah.
excited for you, dude.
Thanks, man. I think it'll be, yeah, I think, was he able to do it because he was financially independent and could just like take the time to hike it?
Yeah, so
Okay.
he was a software engineer for I think like 3 or 4 years, and he just saved up so much money, especially because he was house hacking at the same time. And
Okay.
he was like, you know what? I just want to take a month off or 2 months off and just do the
Hmm.
Colorado Trail. And he
Wow.
did it. So I think it took him 32 days or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty hardcore.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome.
with that being said, man, it sounds like you have a lot of good stuff going for you. I know you have, I mean, you love your trails. You're here now. You're currently house hacking, and
Yeah.
there's so much to it that a lot of people just don't know, or you're already learning so many things that you didn't even know even before coming into contract or under contract and closing on this property. But before we get there, I'm
Hmm.
curious what your life was like before house hacking. Were you renting? Where was it at? And what was sort of your mental state at that point?
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of living the life before house hacking. Not that I'm not living living the life now, but I mean, I graduated and moved out here right away with like three really close friends, and so it kind of just felt like a continuation of college. And we all worked at the same place, worked from home, and like lived in a house right by City Park in Denver. And I mean, we were just going on hikes, like trying new restaurants. We hosted like a Halloween party. Like we were like kind of just like having fun. And I
Nice.
was rented that house for a year, got Lily while I was there, and that kind of when I was like, life is real, things are happening. But so I lived there for a year, loved it. And your first year of work, it's difficult, but it wasn't super challenging in terms of I still had free time. But then it started to become busy, and I was like, man, I don't see myself doing this for 40 plus years. And
Mm.
I like always had that thought, but I was like, I don't really know what to do about it. So moved in after a year being there, moved to Inglewood with one of the guys I lived with, and he bought a property, a condo there, I think this was like when interest rates were literally like 2.5%. So I think his
Yeah.
dad is a broker and was like, you guys should look at buying a place instead of just like renting. And I didn't think anything of it. I was like, I don't have that kind of money. That's crazy. So I just moved in with him, and it was all well and good. And I really enjoyed living there. But like, I just kept having this thought that I didn't love working, and I just didn't know what to do
Mm.
about it. Um,
Yeah.
and then I
What were
found,
you? Sorry, what were you paying for rent at the time? I
yeah.
once you moved to Inglewood.
So yeah, so Inglewood was 1,500 is what I was paying,
Okay.
which is steep.
Hmm.
But in City Park, I had one of the master bedrooms, but we were splitting it by four people. I think total rent was 3,095, and I paid like 870.
Okay.
So it was very manageable, and could still save money. But once
Yeah.
I was paying 1,500, it was that's a big chunk out of each monthly income. So that's when I started to feel like there's got to be something else I can do, and
Yeah.
that's when, I was running, I was training for a half marathon, and I was like, maybe I should, instead of listening to music, listen to something that's like productive, like podcast wise. And I think I found Bigger Pockets, but I only found it because I was specifically searching ways to get like financially free or whatever. And
Mm.
like Craig's episode came up when he was on there just talking about his like first property in Denver that was like an up down duplex, I think, and like
Yeah.
explaining that situation. And then I didn't know he lived in Denver either. And then I found his like book, and then realized that he like lived here and read or like listened to that audiobook. And then that's when I like first time I ever reached out to the Phi team and then that's like you reached back out to me. So that's kind of how it all started.
Wow, that
No
chain.
savings. Yeah, no savings at this point. Like it was just kind of like I can't do this any longer. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, times and going back to what you said initially, like you were living the life over in City Park and then now not
Yeah.
so much. It's such a hard mental barrier to break through from, man, why would I like change this current life situation of I'm close to towns, I'm close to restaurants, I can go out drinking, I can host parties. And
Hmm.
I'm not gonna lie, like I did that for like 5 years of my life, if not more, especially when I was going
Yeah.
through like community college and I was working at Starbucks. Like there was some times I'm a different man now, but
Yeah.
I would be partying until maybe 3 or 4 a.m. and then I would
Oh my
have to
God.
open the Starbucks store in like an hour at like 5 a.m. And I was like,
Oh
dude, let's just
man.
pound some more shots, but it's espresso this time, you know?
Yeah,
So,
it's
I mean,
one, yeah.
it's such a different like a mental leap almost of like, okay, yeah, this is nice, like the lifestyle is nice, but the 9 to 5 aspect of it is something that I do not enjoy, you know?
Yeah,
Like 40
exactly.
years of your life, 40 hours a week and only making 40K or whatever that number might be, and like
Yeah,
it's just so insignificant in the grand scheme of what your life could be, you know?
for sure.
So it sounds like that's something that you got in a revelation and were like, okay, there's people doing this. And maybe like what really set in that concrete of like, okay, maybe I should really pull a trigger on this. Cause there was a point in time in our conversations of like, yeah, I might wait maybe like until next year to really pull the trigger here. But after a little bit, you called me up. It was like, dude, I want to start now. Is there
Yeah.
any sort of like catalyst that really brought you to that point?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, the first time we talked, I think I was like, yeah, maybe in like the next 6 to 12 months, but in my mind I was like, this could be 3 years before this is ever something that happens. So I just think
Yeah.
that was funny, that initial conversation. But I think once I moved into the spot that my friend bought and saw that like, okay, I know we have the same job and somehow you've saved up to be able to do this.
Mm.
And I've read this book now, and like people at similar age have done this. It's not like some crazy idea. Um, And I remember my dad is obviously a big mentor of mine, and I was talking to him and was like explaining all these things, learned about house hacking and like how I could buy real estate and like Denver's a hot market. And like it actually like all the things made sense. It wasn't like there was this one part of it that was like this isn't going to work, so I'm going to scrap the
Mm,
whole thing. Like everything kind of checks off if you like actually do the logical math and like think about it. Like there's no way it shouldn't work. So
yeah.
um, the biggest thing for me was just being able to get a down payment since properties are just so
Mm,
expensive. But I think there was never like one big revelation. I just would find myself during work like researching properties or like doing house hacking research. Instead, I was like, maybe I kind of liked it. Like it was kind of became like a little passion thing instead of just like a way to become to
mm.
get money and like retire early. It was like, okay, I kind of like doing this. So if I'm gonna like do this much research on it, like let's actually try it. Um,
Yeah. And it's funny too, like even nowadays, you're sending me certain house hacking deals that are close by
oh
you.
yeah, I know. They
I'm like,
keep coming.
dude,
They pop up. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
funny. Like, what is Ben doing? Isn't he working right now? He's like, dude, this would be a great house hack. There's an up-down
Um,
situation going on.
yeah,
Looks a lot like mine down the street. And like, oh, dude,
yeah.
thanks. Hell yeah.
Down the street, but farther west, so it's like even closer to downtown. Like I know I'll see these. It's not like I'm having a I love my house and what I've done with it, but yeah, I
Yeah.
think it is fun to look at them and analyze.
Yeah.
That last one I sent you though, man, I would buy it if I had the money.
So good,
So
right?
yeah,
I sent
yeah,
it out to some of my buyers. So greatly appreciate it, man. So keep doing
got you.
that
Yeah,
for sure. So now going into like, okay, you've committed. You're like, all right, let's go into it. I firmly believe that like, hey, this stuff can work out. If the numbers work out, then hey,
hmm,
then it makes a lot of sense, especially with the current job that you have. I'm sure like once the numbers work out, then there's really no emotion attached to it, other than the
yeah,
fact that, hey, there's this mental barrier that I have to go through in order for this to even happen.
yeah,
So I know you got pre-approved, and I kind of want to delve into the down payment assistance program as well,
yeah.
because that significantly helped out not only you but a couple of my other buyers with 0% down on a property. That saves you tens of thousands of dollars, especially for your price point of what, 460-ish thousand dollars. And
Exactly.
all you had to do was come out with, closing costs, but we sort of finagled our way out of that too. So,
Yeah, didn't we?
what was that whole process like?
Yeah, I I had a someone call me. You start searching for properties, and like you somehow your email gets somewhere, your phone number gets somewhere, and you start getting just like spam calls from a lot of different people. And I think I
Yep.
answered one, not knowing what it was, and it was someone explaining the down payment assistance program, and I like was kind of listening, but also was kind of like, okay, like I don't need to really like I didn't mean to pick up this phone, but I'm in this conversation now. And then it turned out to be like really insightful, and I think I like called you right after, and that may have been the time when I was like, I think I want to jump in this now because this was the last hurdle, and if
Mm,
I can get assistance on the down payment, like I think we can do this. And the way that one worked is there's the income limit, and I think it fluctuates, but there's a certain income limit, and then they give you a couple options on percentage down, and mine was 3% down and a 1% kind of fee for using the service. But there's no, and it's a second loan, so it kind of comes out as like a second loan and like a lien on your property. But there's
mm,
no requirement to pay it back until you decide to refinance or sell. And at that point, they will take appreciation in the property. So in my mind, it was if I can hold on to this house hack for 5 years or maybe a little less, the 3% of like 14K or whatever will most likely have appreciated in this home, and I won't have to worry about this. So that was kind of my thought on it. I was like, this makes complete sense to me. I might not be able to follow the 1 year every year buy a different property, but it's like a good way to get in
mhm.
to the real estate space. And so that's kind of how I looked at it and was like, a lot of people say just jump in now, like there's not a good time. And in my mind, I was like, okay, I could save for the next 4 years and have a down payment, or I could jump in right now
Yeah.
and just at least have a foot in the door and be a part of it. So that was kind of the
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah, and we'll get to this at a later point, but
Yeah.
the amount of knowledge that you've gained, I mean, we're still on a texting basis even after your closing, and there's just
Hmm.
so much that you're going through and learning about being a homeowner and doing some of your own projects that's like I would have never learned this stuff if
Yeah.
I were to just try to get to that near perfection of like, yes, I'm ready, rather than learn it as you go. And then as you go, you can build that appreciation, that rents and things like that. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of people's hurdles, that is the initial hurdle of like, I need to wait for the perfect time. There is no perfect time. It's almost like having a kid. You're never going to have the perfect time to do it, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's
Right.
just, if you're ready, you're ready. Of course, I'm not fully rationalizing having a kid with having a
Right.
house. Right?
It's close. A lot of responsibility.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Right. Right.
But yeah, so going on from there, so now you figured out your problem of the down payment assistance. I mean, now you don't have to worry about like having to have that 3% all saved up. It's just a significant catalyst to getting into the game. So I guess just for the sake of time, let's move on to your current place right now. Maybe go through some of the numbers, what that thought process was like. I'm sure a lot of emotions went from, yeah, I'm doing showings and looking for the best property to like, oh shoot, I'm under contract, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so what was that like for you? And why did you like this place so much based on your research?
Yeah. I really liked seeing places. Like I think we saw a good amount. We did a lot of showings. But
Yeah.
a lot of them they look great in pictures and then you get there and like I never had that feeling of like, okay, actually I could make this work. And this place I knew it was far enough away from Denver and like the pictures looked really good that in my mind I was like, okay, it actually might be like worth it. And I think I went to an open house before we toured it and I there was, open houses are kind of scary. There was like 8 to 10 other people in there, and I was like, "Get out of
Yeah.
here! Like this is my house." Like I initially walked in and was like, "This is so house hackable. Like you guys don't even know." So, um, I still wasn't, I don't think, ready to be under contract. Like you said, that's like, I don't know. There's like a shift in your mind where like this is fun. Like I haven't. There's no money that I've thought about really in terms of like it leaving my pocket. And then the
Right.
moment you sign those like actual contracts, um, I don't know. It was like a big like fear feeling.
Yeah.
I
Totally.
think you had a post about it not too long ago that there's like this shift when you decide to be
Oh
under
yeah.
contract instead of just showings, and like I definitely related to that.
Yeah.
And but I could tell when I walked in this house that like the opportunity because you were doing Airbnb. And I didn't realize how difficult that was. I was like, I think the cash flow is the highest. I could also have a roommate up here. Like, this is so perfect. And I just like wanted to be under contract, so I wanted to get started. But like you said, there's so much learning along the way that I didn't realize that I'm still so glad I did it. But there's, I don't think there was many properties around that we looked at that had this opportunity to have this many like different kind of rental situations. And so I think that's the biggest reason I pulled the trigger on
Yeah.
it.
The setup and the layout was really what drew both of us to this
Yeah.
property in itself. So it's a 4 bed, 2 bath, 2-1 upstairs and a 2-1 downstairs, right?
It is a
Um,
5-2, so there's
oh,
three
that's
bedrooms
right.
downstairs and two up here. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So
Hmm.
5-2. So I mean, you have the two egress windows. I guess two of them are conforming. Maybe that's where I came in with that
Yeah, so you're
mistake.
right. Technically,
Yeah.
yeah, with the conforming windows, it's 4-2. Yeah.
I mean, that board game room, we could consider that a bedroom.
Well, that one's not. Yeah, if we want that, that would be a sixth one if you considered it. But it's not even. I wouldn't. I
Yeah.
wouldn't sleep someone in there.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, the stuff you learn is not just the being a homeowner that you have to learn, but also the management of the property. Short-term
Yeah.
rentals, Airbnbs, long-term rental, medium-term rental, whatever the strategy is. A lot of it is just based on experience. You can read as many books as you can. You can listen to as many podcasts as you can. The thing is that you're not going to really learn to what that customized experience is until you do it yourself, right? And
Yeah.
you even learn so much about yourself of like, I don't want to do any of this contractor stuff. I kind of want to just hire it out, And I've
Yeah.
definitely learned that about myself too. So
Yeah.
it comes at a
Definitely.
price, but nonetheless, like it gets done properly and it gets done quickly.
Yeah.
That's what I like about it.
For sure.
So with the actual offer itself, I know that we were in that shift of like, okay, interest rates are starting to creep up. I think you closed around that 5% marker, right? Right now we're at like 6.5%, but it's no longer that hot sellers market. Everyone wants to buy, super high demand, and sellers would not even bat an eye if the offer wasn't 50K over asking price. We
Yeah.
were sort of at this positioning of, okay, yeah, this house has been sitting on the market for a little bit, a couple open houses now, and we were able to ask for so much from the offer itself. And I
Hmm.
wonder if you remember like certain parts of it, or what did you get out of it?
Yeah, I didn't think we would get as much back from the sellers as we did, or so much just like luxury things that they did before I took ownership that
Yeah.
really changed the game. I think the numbers were the original offer was 450, and we offered that with the 10K concession so that we could do egress windows or at least do one of them. And they were like, "We'll give you 15K if you go up to 460." And I was like, "Okay." Like, I think it changed my mortgage like $50 a month. So,
Yep.
it was an easy choice. But I think just the things that we were able to get from them really pushed the deal into like, this is it. I'm not afraid to continue on. And I don't know if you want to go into like me to go into the details of what they were able to do before I took ownership or
Oh,
not.
for sure. Yeah. Let's hear
Yeah.
it.
So I think the first was the egress windows, right? I know when you first toured it with me, I didn't even know that what a conforming bedroom compared to a non-conforming was. I thought if it had a closet, you were okay. And they all had closets, so in my mind it was 100% bedroom. But in a basement, you have to have kind of an escape window or an egress window for each guest. And so none of these bedrooms had them, and we knew, I think you ballparked it was like 4 to 5 grand each for each egress window. And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of how we came to that 10K number. And we were able to get them to write checks to be delivered to me on the closing date for two egress windows. All I had to do was find the contractor before the closing date, and then they would provide whatever that exact price was. So I was able to find a contractor that could do both windows before October 1st of this year, because that's kind of when I wanted to start Airbnb-ing it. And it came to, I think, 9 grand exactly, which
Yeah.
was like kind of perfect in that range. And so they wrote a check directly to that, got it at closing, felt real good. And then there was also after the inspection, the radon was I think maybe like 1.7 above what it should be.
Mhm.
And so I think it was like within the same day we told them that, and they were like, "Yep, we wrote you a check for whatever the price is for radon mitigation." Which in my mind I was a little nervous, like, okay, is this a red flag that they just want to like get rid of this house and like they're willing
Mhm.
to kind of do whatever it takes to get rid of it. But I do
Yeah.
think they maybe were in that space of the market shifting a little bit, and we're afraid if we don't sell this now, we might have to drop the price, and we have
Yeah.
someone that wants it, and we just have to do maybe a little bit of, working with them to sell it. And so they did the radon mitigation, which I think was 1,250, and
Yep.
that was done within the first week I lived here.
Mhm.
And then they still provided another 3 grand of just down payment. They took, or not the down payment, the closing costs, 3K off the
Yeah.
closing costs. So it was like pretty much nothing on my pocket, and I was ready to go. So
Yeah. It's almost like, do you want my firstborn child at the same time? Like,
yeah, I was like,
I feel like
what do
we
I
could
owe
have
you
asked for that
guys?
too.
Yeah, it was crazy. I remember, yeah, I was telling my dad about it, and he's like, that's insane. Like
Yeah.
because the market was such a point of you don't offer 20 to 30,000 over, like your offer's not even looked at. So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
cool.
and the grand scheme of things, right? We do want to emphasize that, like, hey, take advantage of the market, right? If
Hmm.
you're looking at a really hot market where it's on the seller side, the reason why it was such a hot seller's market is because interest rates were so low and
Hmm.
buyers wanted a house so they can get in at that super low sub 3% interest rate,
Hmm.
where their mortgage would not have been the same if they were to come in even at 3.5% or 4%, especially at like $600,000 property or 700,000. Like, it starts to
Yeah.
exponentially increase with that higher price point and with that higher interest rate at the same time. So with all that being said, you took advantage of, like, hey, I know you guys need to get off the market as soon as possible. You're seeing the market trend going out more towards the buyer side, and the sellers are seeing the same thing too. Uh, a measly $1,200 to take care of radon is like I don't care. My mortgage is like 2,500 in order to hold this property. I'd rather you get this and have no questions asked, right? So
Yeah.
I think you just came in at a good time. And I guess to expand on that a little bit more with the seller credits and the down payment assistance program. So you did have to put in, what was it, $5,000 for the down payment, but that
Yep.
down payment, or sorry, not down payment, but the earnest money deposit,
Earnest
right?
money. Yep.
Yeah. So for that $5,000 of the earnest money deposit, that money doesn't have to go into the property itself. It is actually still for you. So because the state is paying for the down payment of the house, the 5,000 that you use as earnest money can be applied to closing costs. And because the seller was able to give us a lot more concessions than we were asking for, you actually got a check at the closing table to get this property in your possession, which is
Yes.
insane to me. Like, I've never seen that before in my real estate career. So I think
Yeah.
we came out with highway robbery.
I think it was because it was, I think, $900 of I mean, I walked out with like 15 grand in checks from on closing date, and I was like, I don't, this does not feel right. So I think it was a good timing of the market, but I mean, it worked out. I feel like when you find the situation that it works, it just feels right, and that was that situation. And so I just had the gut feeling that I should just this is it, and so it was well worth it. I don't know if you want to talk about
Nice.
the other property, but it was kind of, I did not have that same kind of feeling when we were under contract. So
Yeah. I guess no, we don't have to go into it. I feel
okay.
like there's a lot. Let's go on this positive train here.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So going into what it's like right now. So when did you close exactly? It was like August or September, right? Not too long
September
ago?
2nd.
September 2nd. So
Yeah.
going into September, right now we're recording this December 7th. So you've had about 3 months going into it. I know the first month was just getting to know the property, getting the decorations going. Because what was the strategy going into this property? As far
Yeah,
as
so
getting
I
income?
was feeling bullish in terms of I could have the Airbnb ready to go by October 1st. So I gave myself kind of a month, but it worked out not great. Had a couple hiccups right when I moved in that of things that were kind of issues with the house, and I was gone for a week on a work trip, so I really didn't move in till it was like mid-September. And in my mind, I thought maybe 2 weeks I could get all the Airbnb decorations and get it all set up, but in reality, I just could not do it. So that was the initial goal. Is October 1st, egress windows will be done. I can set all the bedrooms up, get the pictures, get it listed. Reality came in, had to fix the the piping for the hot water tank, and all the other heating was not correctly installed, and so that took a weekend, a lot of money. It's fixed now, but so that pushed me back a week, and then just other little stuff started to happen, and so it really got pushed back. I don't think I listed it. I mean, my full first month is honestly probably in the next few days of having the Airbnb up.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But my roommate up here, he moved in October, so I at least got a portion of the mortgage covered for that month, and I was able to kind of start getting income from it. But now I feel like I'm at a spot where both streams are in a spot that's stable. They're passive. I don't feel like I'm doing a ton of work every day. But yeah, there's definitely some roadblocks right at the beginning.
Yeah. So what are the numbers right now? I feel like you're alluding to it, and then we can get to like sort of Tarantino it, right? What are the numbers
Yeah.
right now? What's the Airbnb situation like
Yeah.
as far as numbers and occupancy? And then I'd like to go into like, what did you do to prepare for it?
Okay, that sounds good. So the numbers, my mortgage is pretty high. It's 3,100, like right around 3,100, I think. From my roommate up here, I get 850 that lives up here with me. And so that takes it to like the 2,300 area. And then the first month of Airbnb was right around, I could check on my insights here, but I believe it was right
Hey, let's
around.
see it. Look at you with the app and everything. Hell yeah.
Oh, dude, you got it. You don't have the app, you know. Um, so booked earnings for 2022 are 3,166, but that's combined in
Yes.
November and December. So
Okay.
November earnings were 1,581. So that was like the
Love
first
it.
month that I kind of had it open, and that was with 18 nights booked. So I didn't open it until kind of this time in November, so occupancy was pretty good. Oh, occupancy rate was 100% in November once I opened it.
Nice.
So that was great. So that kind of brought the mortgage down, um, probably another 1,200 after cleaning costs. So I was getting like a little over 2,000 this first month of kind of income on the mortgage. So I wouldn't say right now that I'm like making any money on it yet, but I also opened it at a rough time. Price was super low for the nightly rate.
Mm.
I think it does the automatic 20% discount for your first few stays. So people were booking it for in the 50, like $50, a night. So it was more so to get good reviews, get the feeling of being a host and a landlord and see what kind of problems I'd run into, and still get some assistance to pay the mortgage. But all in all, I'm still paying less than I did at that 1,500 last year. So it was still a positive in terms of savings. And I think
Mm.
going into it, kind of in the future, it should be the nightly rate will probably climb a little bit. And then once the kind of seasonality of the holidays and Christmas kind of slow down, and it gets to warmer weather, um,
Mhm.
it'll be able to be a little bit more income friendly. But those are the
Yeah.
numbers right now.
Love it, dude. I mean, you're seeing it in action, and it's a little unfortunate that you're going into it during the winter time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if it's already better than your previous situation in the winter, like
Hmm.
wait till spring, wait till summertime, and then you can really automate your systems, make sure the prices are manually, if necessary, up to where
Yeah.
it should be, things like that. I mean, you're tweaking certain knobs so that you're as efficient as possible going into March, April, May, June, July. Because I mean,
Yeah.
I was getting about like 3,500 to 4K for all the summer months, per month.
That's crazy.
So
Yeah.
I mean, man, like, and you have a 3-1. I have a
Yeah.
2-1. So this is
Yeah.
this is looking pretty good for you, man. So I'm
Yeah.
really excited for you. So going into, I guess one piece of advice that you would give to future Airbnb owners who are looking to get into short-term rentals.
Yeah.
I guess, what are some applications that you have used, and is there any other parting knowledge that you want to instill on the audience?
Yeah. I use Hospitable for all the communication with the guests and like a potential guest that does, check-in instructions, any inquiries on dates, things like that. And then I use Beyond Pricing for the nightly rate and adjusts it for seasonality, day of the week. If it's a few days before booking, it lowers it, all that good stuff. And I don't think I would have been as occupied without Beyond Pricing for sure. Because I think
Mhm.
even if you're getting less money than what you would have set the nightly rate at, like I'd rather be getting $50 than getting no money for like three
For
nights.
sure.
So those are the two I use, and I think anybody who Airbnbs any property should probably use those because it takes a lot of the pressure off of having to respond, having to set your price. Oh, and then the last one is the turnover B&B for the cleaning,
Mhm.
which I think you've figured out as well. It takes some like getting used to finding the right fit of a cleaner.
Yep.
But right now, I have like the best cleaner ever, and it's like the price is reasonable. It's $90, and it's per project, so it's not even like an hourly charge. And she's great. I've had no complaints of people saying the space isn't anything but super clean. So
Love it, dude. I'm so excited for
yeah,
you, man. Like, this is just
yeah,
month one, man.
I
Imagine like once
know.
third month, fourth month comes in, you're starting, like I said, pulling those levers, leveraging it out, and making sure
Hmm.
that it's all running as smooth as possible. And going back to the
Yeah.
turnover B&B situation, you do learn how to be a little bit of a manager. You're running a business,
Yeah.
so whether you have to fire, which you've encountered already, or
Yeah.
having to hire certain cleaners, interviewing well, things like that, this is sort of like baby steps to having your own business. So
Hmm.
if that time ever comes where you need to move out and you have to hire a property manager for this place, you want to make sure that you have the skills that you're currently developing right now to have that conversation, to fire quickly and hire slowly, whatever that might be, to run a smooth ship. So,
Yeah.
dude, really excited for you.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
So I guess I guess I know you mentioned that maybe you won't have enough for like, not that I'm pressuring you or anything, but like no, you won't have enough for the next property like anytime soon. But what are your plans? I mean, are you looking to do this again, or do you want to stay here for a bit? What's the plan?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think since the assistance program, they gave me the down payment, and I want to make sure when I do decide to refinance or leave or sell or whatever, I have enough appreciation. I'll probably stay 2 to 3 years. My goal in my mind is to buy another property by 2025. So
Nice.
that's kind of what I've started thinking about now, but I'm still definitely just honing in how this one feels, and I want to make it more profitable for sure. Because I mean, having the roommate up here is really helping me, but at some point, it's like it's a little tight, and I understand that like not everyone would want to live with like someone else in a space while they're Airbnb downstairs, and so I'd like it to get
Yeah.
to the point where maybe just the Airbnb is giving enough income to make the mortgage make sense, or having enough income to where you don't need the roommate. So that's kind of
Yeah.
what the kinks I'm working out now. But the goal is to get a property by 2025, maybe a little bit closer to Denver, higher purchase price, but have more savings at that point. That's probably turnkey because I'm in the same boat. I don't want to be doing any flipping. I don't think I have those skills. But I'd love to get enough properties. Let's say it's every 2 to 3 years, and then the passive income's enough to where I could just do a job that I enjoy. So like I said, I love making cocktails. I'd love to be able to quit my W-2 and then just go work at like a pre-prohibition cocktail bar and be
Love
getting,
it.
it wouldn't pay the same, but if I'm getting the passive income from the properties and just being able to do that, I think I'd be a happy man. So that's the goal.
Nice. I love
Yeah.
it, dude. And going from a job that you need to a job you want is definitely
Hmm.
something I want to get to, you know? I
Yeah.
often tell people that when I'm retired, in a way like where my passive income pays for my bills, all that good stuff, I want to be a barista again. I kind of miss
Yeah.
Starbucks. I'm not gonna lie.
All right. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Yeah. Would you go back to
Yeah.
Starbucks, or do you think you'd find a different store?
Yeah, I'd probably go to a different store. I mean, if I
That's fair.
needed, I will say that Starbucks did take good care of me when I was in community college because even
Okay.
working only 20 hours a week, I got 401k,
Wow.
dental, vision, health benefits. I was like, dude, I'm set. I feel like I'm an adult, but I'm only working 20 hours a week, you know? So,
Yeah, that's
and
awesome. I didn't realize they did that.
yeah, it's pretty clutch. So, for all you future financial independent people, but you're still going to school, I would highly suggest going to Starbucks just to get that the bennies, baby.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
that being said, Ben, thank you so much for hanging out. But I do want to turn the tables and give you the mic. I want to make sure that
Okay.
I like to have this as a two-way street. It's a relationship, not that I'm interviewing you. You know. So
Yeah.
that being said, I will give you up to 3 questions that you can ask me, whatever your heart desires.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think you're giving me a little too much power here. It's a little dangerous. I'll keep the first one. I am curious about this. So when I first met you, you had just closed on the current property you're at, and
Yes.
you had kind of started Airbnb and that, figuring it out. Is your plan to, I know you hold a few now, are you going to hang out there for a little while, or is this a short-term property?
Yeah, so as of right now, where it's located, we are able to have the whole place operating as a short-term rental without any sort of business licenses, permits, whatever it might be. It might change, and that does come with the risk of like, hey, the town hall might say no more STRs or whatever it might be.
Hmm.
So as of right now, the plan is to move out as soon as possible when May comes around, when we've closed. That way, we're not living in the basement anymore.
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
I mean, as of right now, it's okay. It's just a small term sacrifice for a long term gain, right?
Yeah.
Lower down payments, I think that's the main thing. Like that comes at the cost of having to stay in there for 12 months. So
Hmm.
that's the plan. I think we might stay with my parents once, like that 12 months is up, just so that we have a better living situation and we could save a lot more money that way.
Yeah.
And then the next plan is I think Kat and I are looking to get into either an Estes Park short-term rental
Oh, yeah.
or or going to syndications. So going into multifamily, investing passively that way, because it's all the benefits of ownership without having to deal with the tenants, the property, toilets, trash,
Yeah.
and all that good stuff. So I think that's the next plan for our investing journey. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, I remember you mentioning the Estes Park situation, which is that's I think that's a great idea. That'd be I'm jealous because then even if if you have to stay there, not have to stay there, but get the chance to stay there when people aren't, I think that's an awesome spot. Okay,
And I
question
think,
two.
yeah.
Unless you what else you got?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, also investing in myself. Like as a realtor, I love doing this stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I wasn't a barista, or if I wasn't a realtor, I'd be a barista. But in all honesty, I mean, I like helping out people like you, where you got the mindset, you're like, let's go for it. I see the numbers
Hmm.
and I see the results in my previous portfolio. I want to replicate that in my own portfolio. So
Yeah.
being a real estate agent has just been super fulfilling, and I love this stuff. I love breathing real estate. So, I forgot what I was going to mention also. Oh yeah, the short-term rental situation. Like the main benefit from that as well is that you can stay wherever you have those short-term rentals.
Yeah.
If we go international, like Belize or something like that, and we have a STR over there, why not stay there for like 2 weeks? Just
Yeah.
set aside some time. You can't really do that with a long-term rental.
No, that's a good point. It kind of sacrifice the security of a long-term renter, knowing they're in there for a while, and
Yep,
then having the flexibility to stay at your own short-term rental. Little trade-off for sure.
that's right. Yep.
Yeah, cool. Second question. Phi holiday Christmas party is tonight. Are you going to be wearing any festive gear or attire to it? Or are you going strictly business?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely wearing. So my sister-in-law sent over a early Christmas present, and I opened it unashamedly before Christmas. Um, it's a nice cable knit red sweater, and I'm definitely going to be wearing that tonight. So a little bit businessy, but also festive enough. I mean, how often do you wear a red cable knit sweater? So
No,
I'm
not
really excited
often.
actually to bust it out tonight.
Yeah, that's like there's like 1 month you can wear that, and this is the month, so you definitely have to. No, that's
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 right.
awesome. I'm looking forward to that though. Is there you said Santa's going to be there? Is there any other activities that are
Yeah,
happening?
I already checked the list. I think you're on the nice list. I think we're all good there. There will
Okay.
be, yeah, there's appetizers, cocktails as well. It's going to be a good time, man. Bring your mom.
I'll let her know. Okay. Yeah, no, you said you told me bring anybody you deem willing, and I was like, I don't have anybody. I don't know. But going solo, but that's fair.
All Gucci.
Yeah. All right. Let me think here of a last question that would be a little bit more fun to get to know here. Let's see. So, are you staying here for the holidays? Just this is some background info. This isn't my question. I just need this is
Yeah,
a
for sure.
leading question. Yeah.
Yes, although Kat has the 26th to January 2nd off. January 20th or 2nd is my birthday, and
Oh, nice.
we might be just chilling in Taos for that week. So it's a little bit slower for me, and she gets the whole week off. So I think we might be going to Taos.
Okay. Got it. Nice. All right, then final question, because I'm curious about this. If you weren't investing in the Denver market, I know you have properties in San Diego, but what would be the other market that you look at to invest in?
Yeah. Big believer in appreciation now. Honestly, I would go back to San Diego.
Really?
Um, yeah, just
Okay.
because the appreciation is not taxable, and I can refinance as much as I want. I could do HELOCs whenever I
Hmm.
can. Um, and I just know the market really well. I
Yeah.
grew up in that area, and I know a lot of friends there. And thanks to social media, YouTube, I've built a little bit of a clout within my sphere of influence over there. So if I were to
Okay.
find a property over there, I have people who want to invest with me. Just because they don't know the Denver market, I can't really invest with them here. But
Hmm.
if I invest in San Diego and they're comfortable with it because they live there as well, by all means, I'm all for it. So I think I would go
Okay.
back to San Diego to invest there.
Got it. Yeah, that's sweet. It's unfortunate, but I've never been west of Utah. So like I've never even been to California. I don't even know what it looks like. So that's awesome. But yeah.
If you ever decide to, man,
Hmm.
like seriously, if you ever decide to,
Yeah.
hit me up, because I will either go with you. I always have something to do over there, or
Yeah.
I will give you the best recommendations that I know for either best Mexican food,
Yep.
sushi, ramen, whatever it might be. So,
Oof. I love me some
all
sushi.
that good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Cool.
dude,
No.
thanks, man. Thanks again for hanging out. Always good to hear your story again and again and again, especially in a more in depth with this hour-long podcast. So,
Yeah.
with that being said, Ben, if anyone wants to hit you up or want to hear more about your journey, or maybe steps within the Airbnb process that they're trying to get a hold of, how do they contact you?
Yeah, that's good thing to know. So they can reach out to me on Instagram. I'm not too real estate heavy on Instagram, but it's probably the social media that I use the most, so I will definitely see it. And my Instagram handle is Benji_West, but Benji most people spell with an I instead of a Y. I spell it with a Y. So it's BENJY_WEST. And then you can have my email as well. If anybody wants to email, it's benjaminwest20@gmail.com. And those are probably the best ways if you got any questions.
Love it, man. I myself, I'm Ian.real estate agent. You can find me on Instagram and YouTube. I mostly hang out there. I'm also on TikTok, but I do it for the memes mostly. But also, sign up for my newsletter. I post up a lot of good stuff every week on Instagram. Well, Instagram is Monday through Friday, but also YouTube. I do long form content, vlog tours, house hacking tours, things like that, deal analyses, and all that good stuff. And with that being said, thanks for hanging out, audience of the Invest in Denver podcast. I am Ian Jimeno, a Five Team production, and I will see you guys next week. Thanks for hanging out, Ben.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah, dude.